Ruby Wax is a comedian, performer and television presenter who has never shied away from opening up and raising awareness about her struggles with mental illness. And now Ruby hopes that by sharing her experience, she can make sure that people feel like they always have someone to talk to. Please welcome Ruby Wax. Hi, Ruby. Hi. I have the book in front of me, the book that has spawned a tour. I'm not as well as I thought I was, which is proving so popular because you're on tour and it's been extended and it's been extended because people are really responding to it. But it kind of started as one thing and then turned into something else, did it not?
Yeah, I started off, well, when I was writing the book, tour comes later. I was writing the book and I wanted to go on all these journeys to find meaning. And I know that sounds, but it's a little Wizard of Oz-like. So I lived in a Christian monastery to find faith because I always wanted to know, what is it like to have to stand up and go into tongues? Okay. I want to know what that feels like. And then I tried to get people out of Afghanistan and worked in refugee camps to find compassion. I went on a 30-day silent retreat to find out what can you learn about how your mind works and what happens after listening to those voices for 30 days. And you do calm down, because eventually they just give up. They're exhausted. You know that you're an idiot, everybody thinks you're making it up. It starts to shut up because you're not paying attention, and they take away your phones. Right. And all I wanted to do was shop. I used to buy rocks on the floor and then return them the next day. So if they take away all your distractions, you do find it. But in the book, I go on a lot more tours, but on the show, which is not the book, I mean, obviously, but there's a certain point where I don't want people to think it's the cause of it, but my depression came back after 12 years again. I stayed clean for 12 years. So I'm writing this book about meaning, and turns out I don't know meaning at all. So I ended up in a clinic, and you watch that journey where I have a therapist. I don't really do therapy, even though I got a degree in it. You know, I always think I went to get the degree so I could find out who was ripping me off. So don't ask me about my childhood again. You know, I should have charged them because I was really funny, and I'm entertaining them and telling them about. So I thought, take it to a stage. So I had a great therapist who does this thing called EMDR. This is a new therapy and I thought, no, I'm not traumatized. That's an Oprah word. So, but she did kind of take me down into my childhood. So the first half of the book is looking outside, and the second half of the book, coincidentally, is looking inside. And you actually, in the show, hear the therapist's voice because she played herself. And I find out that, I mean, the book is very funny, but I did find out, you know, it brought in the the deep center of my personality is I was locked in my house as a kid. I knew something was wrong, but you know, when you're the only child, that's your normal. I mean, I went out to school and two friends were selected, but I never went on a date. And I would look out a picture window and see life in the park across the street and think, oh, I want that, but I never got into it. And then she gradually said, could you just do this therapy without being funny? And I said, I have to be funny, you know, otherwise I'm invisible. And told her that in high school, I was really gormless and my teeth were in another time zone. And my mom, talking about haircuts, cut my hair in a bowl shape. So I was really creepy. And then one day I turned from an ugly duckling into Joan Rivers. And I got all the boys, and they were mostly gay, but I got them. So you go on a journey in and you go on a journey out, so you get two for the price of one. And then the show came out of it. Now, the show is not the book. The show is, I act in it, and I do all the voices of people in the institution who I love, so I can make fun, because it takes one to know one. The woman who goes, there's prawns! Foxes are coming into my home and eating frozen prawns from my freezer, and I'm having a party. Freddie's going to Eton. So I do some of the characters in the mental health clinic. It's very One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But in the heart of it, it's quite serious because depression ain't funny.
No.
So, you know, but I do think you have to make people laugh in order to hear the darkness.
Such a difficult balance, isn't it?
What I was going to ask...
And let me just say, in the show, in the second half, I do question and answer from the audience. And they love that because people really want to be heard. And so even if it's 1,000, somebody will stand up in the balcony and go, what do I do? My daughter's not coming out of, the house, and I think she's cutting or whatever. And then somebody down in the stalls will say, mine too. And then I'll say, could you guys meet in the lobby? So it's a support system. And so That really feels like I did the first half, the mental striptease, and you guys now, it's to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say, if I don't know, you give me the answer. And people are profound. You know, the public just want to be, me too. And you let them go, and that's my reward for doing the show.
That's what I was going to ask in terms of your comedy, which is, it's almost like your little lifeline and your go-to, because you had such trauma in childhood, but you've managed to kind of manoeuvre your way through it with comedy. Do you think that's been like a crutch through the whole thing?
No, I don't think your insides don't know what your outside does. You know, it's like saying, do weather girls have shingles? You know, I just happen to be a comedian. You know, it's Russian roulette who gets, you know, you can be Mrs. Refugee or some, you know, aristocrat. It's 1 in 4, so it doesn't just, it hits at random.
Yeah.
So when I'm depressed, I wouldn't be sitting here, you'd looking at air. But it came to me after 12 years, and that's why people think you're making it up, because it comes and goes. So they think, well, can't you always perk up? And you can't. So my reward, though, is if I can do the mental striptease, and when the public talk to me, you go, oh, I see why I did this. It wasn't just narcissism and egotism, which it is.
Well, Ruby, your daughters are in the business.
Yeah.
Firstly, have they seen the show? And B, have you given them any advice?
They won't take advice because I'm an object of embarrassment.
Oh, OK.
I know not, even though I wrote kind of the lines in Absolutely Fabulous, I know nothing. So I sneak into their shows and they'll stop their shows and say, get her out. But my hair goes like this, so they call it the tuft. And sometimes I'm hiding and they go, sorry, we see the tuft, get her out. Get her out. Because they do it in they're French and Saunders, but more bizarre. You know, they do characters.
Yeah.
And I go, can I just, and they go, no, you may not. And they had a friend film me from the stage, you know, one of the texts, and this was my face. Because I was so worried about them being funny, but they're funny.
How does it feel to see them up there, even if you're only in for 2 minutes before you get hoofed out?
I don't know. I mean,
you've not been there.
They're more talented than I am, so I get pissed off. I get pissed off. Yeah, none of this. Go, girl.
Yeah, well. I take great pleasure in having to apologise for Ruby Wax's language.
She knows
it will go down on my CV.
But they watch the show and they remember when I was mentally ill, and they were the first to spot it. You know, the eyes go dead. You don't look like you're happy or sad or even, you know, anxious. They're just dead, so that my family would go, it's time. You know, they would notice it. And then I took over. I could see it because I studied mindfulness. And that's a little bit of a warning system. That's why I took it, because it's like taking the temperature outside. Now you kind of take the temperature inside, and I can feel it coming. And then you turn off all social media. You tell people you have mental illness. Do not be ashamed. And if somebody says, oh, yeah, sure, drop them. And so they would tell me. Now I can tell, except last time doing these journeys, I couldn't tell.
Well, listen, Ruby, you have been an amazing voice in this field. You really have. You've spoken to so many people through your books, not just this one, and also in the tour. And it's great that you do have that interaction.
I'm on at Salford and Leeds next week.
Good.
Tour starts in September.
Supposed to say that.
I have to say that.
Thanks, Ruby.